Hello, it's Leslie here again. So, I've got a couple of updates for you. The first of which, the good news is I have a new webcam. So, it's a 4K webcam now. So, I think the quality is a lot better and hopefully it focuses a little bit better as well. So, that's the good news. The bad news is that my VPN stopped working. So, I bought a VPN and I bought 2 years service, and that actually stopped working because they pulled out of Russia. Now, the whole point of VPN is supposed to be to get around government sanctions and censorship, so I was a bit annoyed about that. So, no more Russian television with some of the things. Also, Netflix pulled out of the Russian market, so no more Russian Netflix. And of course, the Visa and MasterCard and all that sort of thing, American Express also pulled out. So I'm actually subscribed to STS and Premiere. So I think those are going to stop working. I think I just got a bill for 1 more month, so I'm not quite sure why it actually went through, but I'm hoping I still have access to my STS and Premiere subscriptions, because I was really enjoying that. Everything was going really well. And of course, I can't complain too much because people in Ukraine are going through a horrible time at the moment. So these are first world problems for me. But I'll get to my feelings a little bit later on. But I just wanted to say, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to watch Russian Netflix, so the video I just made Russian Netflix is useless now, and probably the other channels will be useless as well, STS and everything, because you won't be able to pay. You won't be able to pay. So this actually, it hurts. It hurts me, you know. So I read somewhere that Russian issued Visa MasterCard still work until their expiry date, um, so that hasn't really changed anything. But foreign cards in Russia don't work, and Russian cards outside of Russia don't work. So that's the situation now. So it's going to be a lot harder to find Russian television content. Um, anyway, but I'll just have to find another way. I did find one new channel. Yeah, I found one new channel. I can look it up. No, I'll do that. I'll put. I found a new channel that's an independent news channel. Uh, it's like it's sort of like Dost TV Rain, but it's not as good. Like it's not got the same design and graphics, but it is more objective and unbiased. So I'll put the link to that news channel in the description, because I can't pause this video now. So that's a good piece of news. I did find one channel that is still, there's still one channel left that appears to be, there's about 750,000 subscribers on that. So now to my feelings about this whole thing. I've been feeling quite down and upset about the whole thing, especially since TV Rain closed. I was quite down yesterday. I'm quite disappointed at the whole thing, the whole invasion thing. I'm disillusioned. I feel almost heartbroken, heartsick, you know. In the beginning, I just felt like a little bit embarrassed that I was learning Russian to begin with. I don't know why, but I did. And yeah, maybe a bit ashamed and a bit guilty or something like that. So I felt, what else? Just this is going to be difficult because I can't pause this video now with this new webcam. So It's going to be uncut. What was I thinking? I was disappointed, down, feeling heartbroken, because the thing is, as I've looked into Russia 24, the channel Russia 24 and RT in Russian, they're just getting a completely different news feed. And I made a couple of videos back. If you look at the video that's called the coverage of the Navalny protests, you'll see how differently events are covered from the state television compared to independent television. So on, I think it was the 20, well, it was the 31st of January, and 1 week before that, last year, there was a big protest protests all over Russia. Probably the biggest one was in St. Petersburg, and it was crazy. There was a lot of people there. I wasn't actually there, but there was masses of people there, and they were, they were getting intimidated by the police there, and banging. It was getting pretty hyped up. Now the state television covered it, and pretty much they went to all these quiet towns and moved the camera around, panned the camera around, and said, "Spokojno здесь все," like everything's quiet here. So they didn't actually. Well, that's true. In that zone, it was quiet, but the other thing is they prohibited the protests in the town centres, like in Red Square. They prohibited it. And so, again, I can't find the exact video now because there's a lot of videos on YouTube, as you know, but I remember them panning the camera around in Red Square saying, it's quiet here, but that's because the protests were prohibited there. They shut down the whole city. They shut down all the metro stations. And meanwhile, there's protests a few kilometres down the road, which they're not showing. So the people who watch Russia 24, and I think it's Vesti, they are getting a completely different picture of what's going on. And I see now, people have asked, well, why would Putin invade? Is he crazy? Has he got a brain aneurysm and all this sort of thing? No, he's not crazy. That's what he wanted. And a lot of the top members of that party want that. They're all convinced. This is how, when I started feeling heartsick, because I know they've convinced themselves of this, that they're invading to protect Russia. And it made me feel sick at heart, because it's not even as if they disagree with him. So I think that was probably his plan all along. He's been priming people for this for 20 years, telling them what they need to hear. And of course, there was the issue in Donbass. There was all this fighting going on, and 13,000 people died in the last, 13 years, whatever it was. But 10,000 people died in 1 week with this whole conflict. 2 million people almost have been displaced, or 1.7 million, whatever, refugees. It's just unacceptable, and I'm really quite... what was I thinking? I was trying to think of a word. In the beginning I felt embarrassed a little bit. Stidna, a bit ashamed. Like, because there's sort of the romanticism's gone. Like, I used to like I like all Russian words. There's only a few Russian words I don't like. But I see that they lied, they lied that Maria Zakharova, and it's pronounced Zakharova, by the way, not Zakharova, it's Zakharova. She said they're not going to invade. The other, Peskov, or whatever his name is, says that's the last country would want to even invade or pronounce the word war with, or something like that, he said. And, Maria Zakharova said on the 16th of February, I went and found her Facebook thing and her Telegram post, and she said, a request to Western media, please list your invasion schedule, because I'd like to plan my vacation, right, for the coming year. So she's got that on, it's on record as her saying that they're not going to invade. I thought they're not going to invade. I thought they're going home on Sunday. They are just doing exercises exactly as they say. That's their territory. They can be in their own territory. They can put their tanks wherever they want. But it was just too much of a coincidence, wasn't it? And the Western world was onto them. And sure enough, they invaded. But this is the whole reason why they can't call it a war or an invasion, because they've said, we're not going to invade, please list your invasion schedule. But if they label it as a special operation, all of a sudden that Facebook post of Maria Zakharova's, it's not technically a lie, is it? Because they're not calling it an invasion or a war. It's a special operation. So according to them, this is how this is their logic. According to them, they're not lying, because it's not an invasion, it's not a war, it's a special operation. Now, what I noticed is that they're not showing the maps on, not that I've seen anyway, I don't watch much of this state television because it's very boring and horrible. But I had a quick look, and they don't put up the maps of their troops in Ukraine. They're not showing people where they're going. I swear to you that a lot of Russians don't even know that there's troops, there's that convoy. They haven't shown the convoy that's 40 miles long or whatever to their own people. We know more about what's going on than half of Russia does at the moment. So they haven't shown the convoy. They haven't shown any of their losses. They didn't even admit they had any losses until only a few days ago. And then they finally said they had 498 losses. It's more like 10 times that. It's more like 5,000. So anyway, with the maps, they haven't shown people how close they are to Kiev. Lots of those little old lady babushkas, watching state television will think they're just in Donetsk and Luhansk, and they're nowhere near Kiev, and that's all fake. And so if they're not anywhere near Kiev, how can they be bombing Kiev? So they think it's all fake. Now, I've actually tried to go onto VK, and put some videos up to enlighten people, but I've heard them described as zombies, and I almost think that Z is for zombies, because it's impossible to wake people up. You can show them videos and they just think they're all fake. And these aren't Russian bots. They're not bots. They're real people, and they've just been brainwashed. It's a form of brainwashing. So I'm a little bit disappointed in Russian people, and I guess I love the language, but it's a little bit hard for me to process it all. It's like, imagine if one English country was bombing another one, you would speaking to the enemy in English, you feel a little bit weird. So I'm trying to process everything. Yeah, and with the Z thing, they're also branding that as a propaganda tool now, with the Z letter and the V letter. If you go onto RT in Russian, you'll see more of the propaganda than you get on RT America or RT UK or RT Spain. You'll see they're branding it. They're branding this war. They only show a couple of tanks driving around, not getting shot at, of course. And they're taking the cameraman with them. This is the thing that they do. They're taking the cameraman with them, showing all the tanks rolling around nicely, not blowing up anything, of course, doing their special operation. And they're branding it with that letter Z, all of it. Then they put the horizontal lines across, like it's coming from a video recorder and everything. They're just branding the whole lot. They're putting with music with it, I'll just have a sip of tea. So it's quite upsetting to see. That's how I feel. I feel after that Channel Rain closed, I've been missing that a little bit. Because I was watching that quite a lot, couple of hours a day, 2-3 hours a day in the week before it closed, because I wanted to know what's going on. So all of a sudden I wasn't getting that, not knowing what's going on, not knowing about all the whether there's protests in Russia or not. I think it's very sad. So yesterday I was feeling quite depressed about the whole thing to do with Russia. And I guess I've realised that no, I don't like all Russian people. Above all, Mr. Putin himself, and I'll have another video about what I think about that. But for this video, I'll just say that I guess there's the bell curve that applies to general populations, and some people are not as smart, and then you have the intellectuals, and then you have, I mean, there's some Australians that I don't like. There's many Australians that I don't like as well, in any country, Americans or whatever. So it's just sort of dawned on me, wait a minute, this is not all as romantic as I thought it was. Will I continue learning Russian? Yeah, I will. But what I might do is have a break and focus on some Italian for a little bit, for maybe a month or two, because yesterday I was quite depressed. Yeah, I was quite depressed because I've only got a few. I only had thought I had a few days left on my Premiere subscription. Yeah, and my STS thing. I was fine. I was happy, in a good mood, watching all my programs. And now with this boycott and sanctions, it has affected my ability to get Russian programs now. And what else? I'll be doing a video where I drink some Russian vodka and attempt to speak Russian for the first time. So that'll be quite interesting. I'm not sure when I'll do that. I'll do that when I'm in a more positive mood, because I don't drink alcohol when I'm feeling down or upset, because you end up going into a bit of a downward spiral and becoming an alcoholic. So I'll leave that till I'm feeling a bit more positive. The other thing I wanted to do is show you where you can go to troll the Russian government, if you like, on social media, because there's a lot of accounts on there's only a couple on Facebook, a lot of them on Twitter, and then of course there's some on VK, so you can actually enlighten people a bit. And there are still some Russian people who get access to Facebook and Twitter, even despite being blocked. They're still brainwashed. They still come onto Facebook and think, yeah, Russia. The other thing that's happened is I'm not really that keen on the Russian flag anymore. When I see the Russian flag, I think, well, that's not what I stand for. Anyway, I'm very disappointed in everything, and now also, people have been saying for years that Putin couldn't be trusted, that half of his opponents are either in jail or poisoned or dead. There's all these suspicious circumstances. If I remember, I'll put links to some of these articles in the description below, and you can make up your own mind. But we've seen that he doesn't really care about ordinary civilians. There's a lot of people that have gone missing or fallen off balconies, like journalists. They'll just fall off balconies in the winter and die, and then it's blamed on a suicide and things like that, or being poisoned, and the list is long enough already. Now, after this invasion, there's no doubt in my mind that he has done that, or one of his cronies has done that. So I think people are afraid of speaking out. And the other thing I've noticed is that people will say, like, for example, I had a look at the social media accounts of some of these Russian actors of mine, and I have a video that's I made last week that I will show you my top 10 favorite actors, right? So I went to their social media accounts just to see whether they'd said anything. About 2/3 of them were against the war, but I think they just say "Нет война," or "войне," or whatever it is. They don't actually say why they disagree with it. They don't say, well, I disagree with it because I think, you know, Putin's lost his mind or anything like that. They'll just say, no war. But they won't elucidate on that. They won't criticize. They won't. I think it's because they're too scared. So I have lost a couple of friends as well, some chat friends that I was getting messages in with. I've lost a couple because they didn't want to talk about politics, and they eventually blocked me. So that was a bit sad. But, you know, I don't want to continue conversations with basically ignorant people who don't have any empathy for their fellow brothers and sisters. So no loss there for me. You know, here in Australia, we value the truth. We don't like liars. We don't like all this thing. I'm seeing this whole Kremlin regime is one big propaganda machine. They don't tell people the whole truth. And now I will say this as well, that, you know, our own media doesn't tell us the whole story either. You know, they don't tell us everything that's going on in the world either. They've missed out many terror attacks in Africa. All the time they don't report on them. They'll be reporting on, I don't want to get too much into this, but they'll be reporting on, for example, the anniversary of that New Zealand, what's his name, Brenton Tarrant. They'll be reporting on the second anniversary of that, and meanwhile they'll miss reporting on a terror attack in Nigeria where 50 people died. So they didn't report that. So we're also not told everything as well. I think we weren't told the full story about Iraq invasion or war, Afghanistan. You know, so I don't think the West is perfect or anything, but I'm having trouble focusing. Anyway, I just wanted to say, yes, I'm going to continue learning Russian. I'll probably take a break for a month or 6 weeks and come back. The good news is that all of the Russian teachers that I follow on YouTube are against the war. I'm also going to make a video about my favourite Russian teachers on YouTube because they have been very helpful. So that's to come as well. So there's a lot to come. I have a bit of a list there. Anyway, so that's the news this time around. That's all I wanted to say, really. Feeling a bit down about the whole thing. But of course, what people in Ukraine are going through is far worse. You know, it's unthinkable. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.